Okay, weiter, continues the Mishnah. Hoyru Beth Din. Hoyru Beth Din. Beth Din were made ger hoyro. Beth Din, basically, this is the second part of the Mishnah. Beth Din were moire. Beth Din, they gave the instruction to eat that piece of chaylev, which they thought was kosher. The yoda echad mehen shato. One of the Beth Din, one of them, he knows that they're wrong. Yeah, I don't know if he voiced his opinion or not. He knows that they are wrong. Oi, Talmid v'roi lo'iro. There's a Talmid, the person is not a Dayan, officially is just a Talmid, but his level is the same as a Dayan. He didn't yet make it to be a Dayan because of, there are 71 people, there are only 71 spots there. Yeah, if I was joking and we're not on YouTube, I would say that he doesn't have the right last name to be in Beth Din, okay? Lamaisa, he's at the level... The shiur behind, like we learned in Sanhedrin, very good. He's basically standing in front of Beth Din. He's not yet a Dayan, but he's at the level of Dayanus. And he knows that they're mistaken. Yeah, he knows that they're mistaken. He knows that they're wrong. And he still followed what they said. He still followed what they said, even though he knows it's chaylev, he still says, I'm following whatever Beth Din does. I'm a very loyal, true blue Beth Din follower. Soon we'll understand what's going on here. But that's what he did. Yeah. Whether, again, it's the same three cases. By the way, the Gemara will explain, maybe today we'll get there, why we need all these three examples. Either they did it together with him. When he sinned mistakenly and ate the chaylev, he was together with them. They ate the chaylev, and then he said, Beth Din ate it. I'll do the same after them. I'll ape them. Or maybe they didn't eat the chaylev, but they told him that he can, and he followed their instructions even though they themselves never ate it. When he realizes, or when Beth Din realizes, when somebody in the story realizes that was wrong, and Beth Din comes up to Patkevilim saying, no, this piece of chaylev is treif, then the person himself will have to bring his very own chatos. Why? Because really he did not connect it to Beth Din. He knew better. He knew this is chaylev. He knew it's chaylev. So why did he make the mistake? Well, what mistake was done here? He followed Beth Din even though he knew that they were wrong. So now comes the question, I understand he can't say, I did what Beth Din said, because Beth Din are wrong. And you all said their level, which also shows us, in order to say Beth Din are wrong, you have to be at the level of Beth Din. Not like people who tend to say the rabbi is wrong, and they know much less than the rabbi. That's also a fashion. So Lemaisa, here what's going on. There is a person who knows that they're wrong, and he still did it. Let me ask you the question of the Rishonim. If so, he's amazing. A person knows it's chaylev and he's eating it, he's amazing. Why should he bring a korban chatos? A person who's amazing, mamish doing it b'dafka, b'chavono, there's no korban for such a person. No chatos, it's a chiyuv koris, right? He has to get malchus in case of chaylev. What was his mistake? 1 second. What do you want to say? No? What do you suggest?
He was going after the road. What can I do?
I think you're on the right lane. Basically, this person, I'm trying to get off my soapbox over here, but this person got the idea of emunas chachamim, mitzvah shmo divrei chachamim, to a very dangerous extent. This person is not mazid saying, I'm going to eat chaylev now. Yeah, dam. Since I'm 3 years old, I'm fantasizing about the chaylev and dam I'm going to eat. Let's go and eat it now. That's not this person. It's not a rosho. He's making a mistake, but his mistake is not that the chaylev is really mutar. His mistake is he thinks halachically you should follow Beth Din even if they're wrong. He thinks that the rabbi is so holy that even if the rabbi goes against halacha, it's still okay. As some people think today, unfortunately, and it's terrible mistake. And oh yeah, my friend, yeah. That people will tell you that if the rabbi so-and-so would eat chazir, then would eat chazir also. I've heard that before. Ish, all goes, a cult of. In any event, unfortunately, people don't get the right hashkafa in the world. We are on YouTube, I think. What? He's not. Also Alpian, right? Very good. Also Alpian, he's following their instructions. He knows that they're wrong, right? And because he knows that they're wrong, he has to bring his own chatos. because he didn't make a mistake regarding the chaylev. He knows it's chaylev. On the other hand, he's not a mazid either. He's not their mazid. He's making a mistake, and therefore he has to bring a korban, a personal korban. If he would rely on their mistake, then they would bring the korban, and he would just tow along. But Shenkin, in this case, is making a different kind of mistake. He's making a mistake the day, even if they're wrong, they're really right kind of thing, and therefore he has to bring his own chatas, because the mistake at the end of the day is in his krum hashkafa. That's his. Excuse me. Let's finish the Mishnah. Zeh klal. This is the rule, and this rule comes to add one more case. A person who's tole, who's alleging it, who's connecting it to himself, meaning a person who makes the halachic mistake by himself. He thinks it's chaylev, or he thinks you should listen to Beth Din even if they're mistake, yeah? But it's his own mistake. Then he's chayiv to bring his own small korban of a regular chatas chitzoin shilem. A person who really very tmimusdically followed Beth Din. He's not one of the dayanim. He just saw a notice from the badatz. The badatz told him, you can eat that piece of fat. He followed what they said, like a good yid. Then the mistake is 100% theirs, and therefore they're the ones who have to bring the korban, and not him. Adkan is the Mishnah. Of course, there are many questions. There's Mishnahs. Yeah, Mishnah is supposed to have questions, which hopefully the Gemara will deal with. Says the Heilige Gemure. Says the Gemara. Omar Shmuel. I'll give you a small introduction, very balabatish, just to make it a bit easier and lighter. Imagine yourself, you want to borrow your friend's car. You know, people don't like to lend their own car for an entire day to go to the Golan. People, a car is a car, it's not a piece of string. So you ask one friend, and you ask him either by phone or by text, and you ask him, can I borrow your car for all day? And the answer is, yes, goodbye. And then you call another friend and you ask him, can I borrow your car? And he says, yay, with 10 smileys and 3 exclamations. Of course, please borrow my car with grace and pleasure. They both were positive, right? He said yes and he said yes. But we see the difference very clearly between, yes, okay, and wow, please borrow my car. Yeah. In other words, there are different ways to say yes and different ways to say no. And unless you are really socially unaware, you can understand that there's a yes and there's a yes, right? We know that from everyday life. Now let's see the Gemara and see how the Gemara defines hoyro'o. How does the Gemara define the word hoyro'o as instruction? Amar Shmuel. La'olam ein Beth Din chayovin. Beth Din are never chayev for instructing people the wrong way unless ad shamu lahem mutarin atem. Unless Beth Din told people as a directive, they told them you are allowed. If they did not say that, Beth Din are potter from a korban, and the people are chayev. What does that mean? Explain the Rishonim here. Let's say a person is a smarty pants and asken kind of guy, and he went into Beth Din, and he overheard the dayanim saying, paskening, after a whole long discussion, that this piece of chaylev is okay. He heard that they pasken among themselves, this piece of chaylev, the new behemoth that came from Japan, I don't know, this chaylev is mutter. Or maybe, by the way, parents, maybe they thought it's chai and it's really behemoth, by the way. That's going to also be an issue. So then he never heard the dayanim telling people to do it. He heard the dayanim amongst themselves in a close discussion, paskening and saying, yes, this is okay to have. But nobody ever told him, mutarim atem. Then, because nobody actually directed people, instructed them to do it, it was a closed thing between them, then Beth Din are not chayev, because Beth Din never instructed people to actually do it, right? You eavesdropped, but they never said it to you to actually go ahead and do it. It's not enough of a yes on the side of Beth Din to be mechayev and make them bring the korban. Now, that's Shmuel. Rav Dimi ben Ardo says even more. Rav Dimi ben Ardo takes it to a further extent. It's not enough if Beth Din said it's okay. Only if they say it's okay for you to do. They have to add the word la'asois. We had this in Bava Basra. There's halacha and there's halacha l'maisa. If a Rav tells you that's halacha in a shiur or general, that's halacha, doesn't necessarily mean you can go home and do it. Yeah, only if it tells you go home and do that. Yes, you can actually use the machine on Shabbos. Yes, you can go home now and do this and that. Unless you're that clearly from the Rav, you cannot do it yet. I'm not saying halacha l'maisa. Excuse the fun. I'm saying ask your Rav even about that. But generally speaking, this is what Rav Dimi is saying here. Rav Dimi ben Ardo says it's not enough even if the Rav told him it's okay, only if it says it's okay for you to do. to do, lasois, then it's called mamish, a clear, practical instruction that the Beth Din are chayiv and the listeners are potur. Okay? This is what we're saying now. Lich'oira, it's a machloikas between Shmuel and Rav Dimi, but we'll see maybe further later understanding. Rav Dimi, Shmuel says that it's enough if Beth Din says mutarim atem, you're allowed. And Rav Dimi says no, you have to say more. In order to have a clear instruction which completely exempts the person and only mechayev Beth Din has to say mutarim atem la asois, asher bara Elokim la asois. The extra word la asois, you can do it now. Try it at home. Only then the person is potul because he really followed the instructions, and the Beth Din are chayev because they gave the wrong instructions. Now, my time, why is that? The Gemara is going to say now what I said. I jumped the gun. My time, as long as Beth Din didn't tell you go home and do it, the hoira is not finished. It's an unfinished business. It's a half-baked cake. As long as Beth Din didn't say yes, you can do it now, then this is not called hoira, and therefore don't connect it to them. Don't throw the pile on them. It's your responsibility. Now Abaye and other Meroim are going to bring 3 proofs to prove, like Rav Dimi, that in order to follow instructions, it has to be la asois. There has to be a clear instruction of you can do it. Afanana mitnina. We also learned in a different Mishnah in Sanhedrin. Yeah, many of us here learned Sanhedrin as well. And we see a Mishnah in Sanhedrin regarding a different part of halacha saying the same thing as Rav Dimi. What's the story over there? It's about Zoken Mamre. Remember Mr. Zoken Mamre? Yeah, he wears Hoyse Zoken. The Zoken Mamre, what does he do? The Zoken Mamre is a person who is in Beth Din of, I don't know why Beth Din always say Beersheba for some reason. I don't know why. So he's in the Beth Din of Beersheba or anywhere else in Eretz Yisrael in the times of Beis HaMikdash, and everybody in Beth Din of 23 people, they believe one way, and he says no, he paskins the other way. He goes against the majority. And then they go to Yerushalayim to find out maybe he's right because he's still paskening like his own psak. And then the Beit Din Yerushalayim, this whole process, the Beit Din at the beginning of this, and then eventually they get to Lishkas HaGozis, to the Beit Din of 71 people, and the Beit Din tell him, we're so sorry, you are wrong. They tell the Zoken, the one who argues with the majority, yeah, very nice, such a free thinker, we love free thinking, but you happen to be wrong, and they are right, and this is a psak from the greatest Beit Din, which cannot argue with. Okay, then they went back home to Be'er Siba, and there he continued to do what? He, excuse my bad English, doesn't give a hoot. He keeps paskening and like himself, like his original old psak, ignoring the psak of the Beis Din Gadol Yerushalayim, basically starting reform movement. Yeah, a little bit, a teeny bit of that. So then, what's halacha? After you threaten him, you kill the guy. Yeah, you execute him. It's chayv misa. Okay, that's Zoken Mamre. He goes against starting the religion, basically. So now let's read something about that and see how it's connected to our Mishnah. Chazar le'iroi. The line starts with the word chazar. By the way, if you lost your place, the line starts with chazar. Chazar le'iroi. The Zoken Mamre went back to his town. Shana v'limed, went back from where? From their very fatal trip to Yerushalayim. And he was informed, you are wrong, Mr. Rabbi. Shana, he went back again, v'limed kederech shelimed, and he kept teaching the halacha in a shiur the same way that he taught before. Meaning he's still sticking to his gun against everybody else, against all words, swimming against the tide, but all he's doing is teaching in a shiur. He's saying this is halacha. Patu. Yeah, you don't execute him. You don't give him einish misa. It's wrong to do it. But he's not chayav misa. Why? Because he didn't tell people, go home and do it like me. He says, in a more theoretical way, he says this is halacha. And therefore, that he's not yet chayav. However, lasois, chayev. If he says, yes, mister, whoever's in my shiur, I'm telling you, go home now and eat this piece of chaylev against all the other rabbonim. I know better than everybody else, to the level which is very practical, lasois, then he's chayev. So what do you see? You see that if the person gave instruction which is more general, theoretical, like halacha is this and that, it's not called hoiro. It's a different area of halacha, Zoken Mamre and us, but we can definitely draw comparisons. Mashe'enken, if he says, la sois, go home and do it right now, yes, you're absolutely fine to do it practically, try it at home, then he's chayiv. He's chayiv misa for giving a psak that contradicts the psak of Beit Din Gadol Yerushalayim. Okay, so we see again, a psak has to be la sois. Otherwise, it's not called a psak for those halachic matters. Amar Baba. Baba comes and brings us another example to prove, like Rav Dimi, that only lasois is the business. Amar Baba. Afanan namitnina. We also learned it in the Mishnah in a different place. And this is about an Eishes Ish. Eishes Ish, whose husband supposedly died. We don't know 100%, but there's one aid, there's one witness that says that husband died. So for reasons which I will not explain now, which I explained many, many times before, a woman whose husband died, apparently, although Eishes Ish is very chomer, or maybe because it's very chomer, she'll be careful. One aid is enough. In other words, if there's one aide that came to her and said, yes, I was with your husband in a tank, and your husband at war, in the war zone, and really he died, and I'm a one aide, is an aide kosher, and let's say, so then the aide and her can go to Beth Din, and only by the by the instruction of Beth Din, the woman can remarry. If her husband will turn up alive, if he will come alive through the door, then she'll be really messed up because she'll never be able to go back neither to him nor to the second one. The children from both sides will be mamzerim, she'll be messed up big time. I'm not going down that whole explanation, but basically one of the reasons why we rely on one aid is because we rely on her because we know that she will not mess herself up with getting married to someone who not knowing her husband died, because if he will appear again, she'll be messed up for life, for all kinds of details. Now, the kids are, now, one aid came, they came to Beth Din gave a psak. What did Beth Din say? Beth Din gave a hoy. That's the name of the game. They gave her a psak to Linose. They listened to the aid, they grilled him, they really tested him, they inquired, and they found out, yes, this is the man, the what? Apparently, this is clearly your husband who died. He was the one who blew up in the tank or something. And what? They gave her instruction, okay, now you are not in Eishes Ish, and therefore what can you do? Play cards. What can you do? They gave her the instruction. Now you're okay. You're good to go and get married to a nice Jewish boy. Very nice. Now, what did she do? This she went and, I don't know if it's a bad word to say in English, she went and she played the field. Without marriage. She had relations without marriage. She went with a boyfriend, without getting married again. Okay? And then her husband came back. Who needs soap when you have chas v'shalom? The Gemara. In other words, the husband came back, the real husband, the original one, and she has a boyfriend, and she had relations with him. Then now she was a shoygig. She was a shoygig because she really honestly believed the husband was dead. Okay, fine. So then, chayeves v'korban, she's chayev with her own korban. She's chayev her own korban chatos. It's not based in after bringing the korban, not even according to Rabbi Yehuda. It's her own chiyuv. Why? She followed based in instructions. Why? Because they said that she is not an Eishes Ish. And if I'm not an Eishes Ish, then I can have relations with other men. Of course, Pnuya is also, it's not as bad as Eishes Ish. That's what she says. We say, no, lady. You have your own korban, and you cannot connect it to Beth Din. Why? What Beth Din allowed you, Miss or Mrs., actually, Mrs., what Beth Din said, you can go get married. If you follow their psak was not to go stam and be mezaneh with a friend. That's not what Beth Din told you to do. Beth Din said you're not an Eishes Ish, and therefore they're instructing you to go get married again, if you wish, if you find a choson in a respectable, normal way. It can be even corona wedding, not corona wedding, but it has to be a wedding, kiddushin. You don't have 500 people, but you go ahead and you stam with a boyfriend. Nobody allowed you to do that. You're taking psak of Beth Din and sort of in a way distorting it, and because of that you have your own chiyuv. So again, we see that a person, in order to follow the instruction of Beth Din, he has to follow the instructions to the T. He has to follow them mamish down to the last detail. If she did something different to Beth Din never said a woman can just be mezaneh chalila with a man with no control whatsoever. Another opinion of the Gemara there says, one second, that even, I don't know if it's worse or better. The Gemara sees it as worse. She's in a grusha. She's, let's say, divorced from previous marriages, and she married a kohen. She mamish got married, yes, kilu legally, but to a kohen. So she went against halacha. They told her linose to a regular, wherever she's allowed to be married to. She went and she got married to a kohen, and she's a grusha. Rabbi Elizabeth was officiating, right, very happily, but we don't. So then, in that case, zicher for sure, we say you have your own chiyuv because you didn't really follow Beth Din, right? It's because when you follow Beth Din, it has to be la asois. They tell you you do this and you did this that they told you, then you're potter. Otherwise, don't blame it on them. The third raya, the third source to support Rav Dimi, that in order to follow instruction, you have to follow them la'asois. We also learned the following. We also learned the following Mishnah, and this is our very own Mishnah we just learned, and that alone supports Rav Dimi. What is our own very own Mishnah we saw a few minutes ago? What does the Mishnah say? Beis Din said la'avo. La'avo means go ahead and do it. Yes, you can be over. Not that they said do an avera, but they said go eat that piece, which eventually came out to be an avera. You see, Beis Din gave a clear directive. Yes, you can do it now. Yes, you can. Yeah. Like Obama, Lavdil. Then what? Then we say, then we consider them as guilty and the individuals who follow them as non-guilty. The tuloi midi. Tuloi midi means that's it. Nothing more should be discussed about it. We brought three rayas for Rav Dimi against Shmuel, and that's okay with us. That's enough for us to follow. Now, you may ask a question, why aren't all these Mishnayos an attack against Shmuel? Tosfos asks the question. The Gemara seems to be supporting Rav Dimi and not exactly saying Shmuel is wrong. You know why? Says Tosfos, because when you learn Shmuel and Rav Dimi, if you want to go up with your eyes or your fingers to the very, very first part of the Gemara, that's where Shmuel and Rav Dimi argue. And then let's read again. Shmuel says they have to tell, the Beis Din has to tell the folksmen, the people, the regular people, Mutoim, you're allowed, and then Rav Dimi Rav Dimi is adding a word. No, it's not enough to say you're okay, you're good to go and do it. You can do it now. More practically, there is a tzad to say that maybe Rav Dimi, says Tosfos, maybe Rav Dimi is not arguing with Shmuel, maybe he's explaining Shmuel. Get what I'm saying? Maybe Rav Dimi says, you know what Shmuel meant? He meant Mutoim to the level of Lasos. That's why we're not attacking Shmuel. However, look at what's going on now. Ikadamri. Now the Gemara is going to turn the tables completely. The same two Amiroim, the same opinions, but switch them around, swap them around. Ikadamri. Omar Shmuel. Shmuel is the one who says, and Bezin Chayovin at Shamulai Mutorin Atem La'asois. Shmuel is the one who says, only when Bezin says Mutorin Atem La'asois, Bezin got very practical and very lemaise, very down to earth. You can do it now. Only then Bezin have to bring the Korban. And Avdimi Min Adamar, no. Avdimi Min Adamar argues and says, no. Afilu Mutorin Atem. Even if they only told them you're allowed, you're allowed to do it, like you can do it now, even without that, that's good enough to connect it to Beth Din and disconnect the people. So now clearly Rav Dimi is arguing in Shmuel, because Rav Dimi says afilu. No, not like you, Shmuel. Even without that, it's good enough. Here, there's clearly an argument. And therefore, now we're attacking the opinion. Now the Gemara comes to attack the same three Mishnayos, which before were a proof to that opinion, now become an attack against it. Many times the Gemara uses this tactic. It's a repetition of before, but just the other way. You're telling me, Rav Dimi, that it's enough to say, you okay? You don't have to say, you okay, and do it now? Do it, Lasos. You say that's good enough. I'll prove you from three Mishnayos that it's not good enough. Because it says in the Mishnah in Sanhedrin about a Zoken Mamre, it says, Chazar le'iroi v'shono, oy limed keder shelimed potu. A Zoken Mamre, after listening to Beth Din in Yerushalayim, face to face, and Beth Din not in Zoom, and he saw Beth Din in Yerushalayim saying against him, paskening against him, and he's mechutzef diker, he's going back to Beersheba to pasken against Beth Din, but if his psak is not real halacha, he's teaching it. He's teaching in Besmedrash. He says this is halacha. They said go ahead and do it. He said that's halacha. That's what I hold halacha. But it's not halacha lemaisa. You cannot do it. Then we say he's patur. It's not really a psak. His argument against Beis Din Gadol is not enough of an argument to take him to the misa to kill him. Only if the Zokin Mama actually went ahead and he says, yes, you can do it now in your houses right this minute against all these rabbis whom I know better than, then he's chayiv. So you see, only he goes practical identical, then he's chayiv, not less than that. Same thing by us. Should also be about the korban. Rabbi Abba says the same thing as before, but on the attack. Line starts with the word tnan. We're a few lines before the end of the narrow lines. The line starts with tnan. We did not learn that way, not like the current version of Avdimi, because about the Eshes Ish with one aid, what do we say? Beth Din told her to go ahead and get married. Why? Because they passed that the husband is really dead, basing themselves on one aid. She went, and unfortunately she did not marry properly. She was doing shtiyot and she was doing znus. Then the husband comes back. Oh my gosh, she's back. Then what? She has to bring her own korban. She's shogeg, but it's her own personal responsibility because she did not follow Beth Din down to the T, to the la'asois. She was la'asois. Her la'asois was different to their la'asois. Her version of a single girl is different to Beth Din's version of a single girl. They said get married. She said I'll do whatever I want. So therefore she has his own korban. So you have to follow the instructions exactly. All Beth Din allowed her was only to get married, not stam. Now comes the third proof, which is now against the current version of Rav Dimi. We see in our own Mishnah, not like that. It says, Beis Din said la'avo, not hoiru Beis Din in general. La'avo, la is a verb. To do. Yes, you can do it. Yes, you can. You can do it. And therefore, in that case, Beis Din are chayev, and the person is potu. But otherwise, if they gave a more general, nebulous psak, not practice, then we don't say it's Beis Din's fault. Vetuloi midi. And again, we say there's nothing more to discuss about it. We brought 3 mishnayos, and that's good enough for us. Okay? This is what we say for now. Samach Roini Mesk, so Nachman called the Choy Knoson, I think it's called Choy Knoson. He says, what's the Chiddush? Because our Mishnah is Mefurish, like Rav Dimi in the first version, so what's Rav Dimi's Chiddush? He says last choice. So he says, no, there would be a Havamir to say, Horu Beis Din Lavo means Horu Beis Din, their own psak, and we can derive from that Lavoil. Horu Beis Din in a way that would sound to us, those who are eager to eat the new kind of chalev, they're kilo, they're already allowed it. Some people are like that. You know, they hear half a psak lekula, they already matcha themselves a whole load of things. Yeah? So there's no shas adchak. So that's why Rav Dimi says, no, only if Beis Din tells you, you can do it beheter, mamish, Beis Din have to speak very directly and clearly, only then you can say, I relied on them to the level that patters me and mechayev them. Not less than that. But it's not so clear from the Mishnah. Weiter. Okay. Next quote from the Mishnah. Let's continue to the next part of the Mishnah. 4 lines from the bottom of the page. What did we say? The Yochid also shoygeg al pihem. The individual followed them mistakenly, following their instruction. This is redundant. There's a redundant word here. Frag the Gemara, Venitni, let the Mishnah say, also al piem, he followed their instruction. Shoygeg lamali, why do you have to say it was shoygeg? Of course it was shoygeg, because he relied on them. If he relied on the big 71 rabbis with big white beards and the greatest rabbonim in the world, then of course he's shoygeg because he's relying on their mistake. Why do you have to tell me again, that he followed them and he's mistaken? Of course he's mistaken, because at the end of the day, tomorrow, they came out with a psak that they were wrong. So what's his business here with Shoygeg? This is the Mishnah. This is not Idiot Achronot. Answers the Gemara, Omer Rave, Shoygeg la'atuyei hoiru beis. This is coming, la'atuyei, to include one more case. La'atu means to include one more case. Hoiru beis din shechelev muta. Listen to the following case carefully, because this case is going to follow us now in many, many different versions, but this is the case which we're going to discuss till the end of the Amud almost. Listen to the case. Beis Din came out with a psak. He went to the Rov's house, one of the members of the Bedats of Yerushalayim, of Beis HaMikdash, and the Rov told him, no problem, this new behemoth from Brazil, no problem. You can go ahead and eat this chalev because it's not really chalev. Beautiful. Okay, very nice. And then you know what happened when he went home? Then he went home, and his wife served him shuman, and he asked her, is that the chalev that Beis Din allowed? She said, no, this is shuman. In other words, there's a double mistake here. Beis Din made a mistake and they thought the chalev is mutter. Besides that, him and maybe his family, they technically mistook chaylev for shuman. In other words, they ate a piece of chaylev thinking it's shuman. They thought it's shuman, which is for sure kosher. Shuman is kosher, chaylev is treif. They thought, yeah, it's like somebody eating a cheeseburger thinking it's a soya. I don't know. They just didn't get the right technical mistake. So really we have a double barrel mistake here, double layer mistake. And he ate it. He ate that thing, and he really has a double layered mistake. But that thinks it's mutter even if it's chaylev. And he thinks it's not even that chaylev. It is the wrong chaylev. But there are two separate mistakes here. There's Badatz's mistake, and there's his mistake technically thinking he's eating shuman. He thinks he eats just a regular fat, which is not even chaylev, the questionable chaylev. And then what do we say? Potu. The chiddush is that in that case also he's potu. Why is that a chiddush? Because one could argue and say, if he has his own mistake, thinking this is chaylev versus shuman, right? Or he thought it's shuman, well, it's really chaylev. Maybe his own mistake, he has to bring chatas for, right? Because you also have the personal element. I mean, it was said there's Avamina, which, by the way, is an opinion later on, yeah? Comes the Mishnah tells me, no, Potu. First of all, yeah, he's Potter in this case. In this case, when he had this case of Potter, yes, he's Potter on that. Al PM Mamish. Al PM means Al PM Mamish, says Rashban. I'm used to Rashban from the last one. Says Rashi, really, when you say the words Al PM, shoigeg, comma, al pihem also, there's two separate cases. Is potter either beshoigeg, yeah, is potter, and also by his own mistake is also potter. In other words, he's potter in both cases. Mitzad both inyonim, either mitzad Bezin mistake or his own mistake, is potter from his own chatas whatsoever. In other words, his kilo has two separate mistakes here. This and that. He has the Bezin mistake, he has his own mistake. Nevertheless, at the end of the day, he is still potter. Yeah, he's still potter because really, even if you told him, hey, Rabbi Yid, hi, this is not Shuman. Somebody would come to his kitchen, he started, this is not Shuman, this is Chaylev. He would still continue to eat. Why? Because they say, who cares, it's Chaylev. But that's allowed me yesterday to eat that kind of Chaylev. So really, at the end of the day, according to this opinion, Be'emes, this is really based on Badatz's mistake. And therefore, at the end of the day, he's potter. This is one way of looking at it. That's why we say shoigeg al pihem. It's a double barrel mistake. Now we know why there's an extra word. That's one good pshat. However, veikadamri, we're going to a lot of ikadamris now. Veikadamri, it's Horayos, a lot of different options here. Veikadamri, we're in the last narrow line. Veikadamri, some say, ikadamri omarove, shoigeg al pihem. Some say shogeg al piyam is not two different mistakes. It's one thing. He's shogeg only by al pihem. He's shogeg only based on their psak. Shogeg al pihem hu de potu. If he's shogeg because of Beth Din is potu. Aval nischalev l'chelev b'shuman v'chol chayev. Wow. In other words, this opinion holds just the opposite. This Mishnah reads, this opinion reads the Mishnah differently. It says, Kilu, you have to have both. It's not both together. It's an explanation. One explains the other. You know what kind of shoigeg is potter? Only shoigeg al pihem. The kind of shoigeg, it's an explanation. It's explaining what kind of shoigeg? Only because Badatz made the mistake. But if he has his own mistake, then he's chayev. Why? Because we say you made the mistake between Chaylev and Shuman, based on their mistake, you still have your own element of not being careful, knowing what you're eating. That alone is looked at separately, and you have your own Korban. This is two versions in Rove. Milsa the Pshita Rove continues the Gemara and says, what Rove says is a statement. Rami Bar Chama had it as a question. We're going to see a very, very similar text to what we saw before, but instead of Rava stating with having two different statements, it's Rami Bar Chama asking and Rava answering. The by Rami Bar Chama. Rami Bar Chama posed it as a question, not as a statement. Hoyu Beth Din, second wide line. Hoyu Beth Din, shechelev mutar, v'nischalev lo chelev b'shuman. Beth Din, the Badat said it's okay to eat that piece of chelev. The new chelev from Brazil is okay. And then the person went home and he switched chelev and shuman. And he ate it. Mahu. Says Rami Bar Chama, what's the halacha? Do we view him as relying on Beth Din, or do you view him as his own mistake? Because you have two elements here. Well, how do I look at it? From what side do I start eating the cake? Yeah. Now, excuse me, Rava comes to answer the question of Rami Bar Chama, and he says, Toshma, listen to the Mishnah. You have a question, my Rav? My friend? Here's the Mishnah. What did the Mishnah say? Why did the Mishnah have to say two words, shogeg, and also by their word of Beth Din? Don't we know that this whole masechta is talking about mistakes are related to Beth Din? And says the Gemara, Lavla Tuya, isn't the Mishnah coming to tell me the Beth Din says chalav is okay. When it's chalav l'chalav b'shuman v'acholoi, and he also made his own personal mistake, and he switched chalav for shuman v'acholoi. Potu. No, you see it's potu. You see the Mishnah comes to tell you that even the double barrel mistake is still potu. You can still connect it to Beth Din. Says the Gemara, no, now this the Gemara probably is Rami Bar Chama. Says the Gemara to Rava, how do you know? Maybe not. I can look at it the other way. I can say no. The Mishnah came and told you that only if the shogeg is exclusively only LPM. It's not shogeg and LPM, but shogeg meaning LPM. These are two ways to read the Mishnah. Either means shogeg and also there are two mistakes, or no, it's no. What's the word? Qualifying. That's what I'm looking for. One is describing and qualifying the other. You know what kind of mistake is it? Only one LPM. But if he only has his own, if he also has his own mistake involved there, then he's chayev. Maybe that's the way to read the Mishnah. And Ikad Amri, and on that another Ikad Amri. Now this is the Ikad Amri on. That's a fourth. Very good. Very good. You're following. So far, we had Rava making two statements one way or another to Ikad Amris. Now we have Rami Bar Chama asking a question and Rava answering. We have the first Ikad Amri of that. Now we're going to the second Ikad Amri, which is the fourth on the list. Ikad Amri Omer Rove. Ikad Amri, sorry. It's fourth. Ikad Amri Omer Rove Toshma. That Rava comes to tell Rami Bar Chama, look, Shoigeg al PM. You know what that means? My love, doesn't it mean Shogeg al PM with the potu? Only feels Shoigeg, meaning the Shgoga was only based on them. There's one mistake, then it's potu. If he switched his own mistake and he got, there are two trays in his house with, aluminum foil and it's written on it, Shuman, and he mistook the two, he didn't see the writing, and he took one instead of the other, then he is chayiv. Yeah, then he's chayiv. So l'choiro, we see that then he's chayiv if he made his own mistake because he has his involvement. Says the Gemara, no. Dilma oy shageg oy LPM. Maybe not. Maybe it's oy shageg oy LPM. Maybe it's either or. But really, if you made one mistake, if you made mistake also based on yourself, then you are really, potter.
How is this different from the other?
It was just the other way around. Just the other way around. Okay. Beseder? Give me one more second before I ask your questions, because now we're going to summarize in the Gemara. Beplukta, if anybody got confused, the Gemara says no problem. It's a very, very clear-cut machloikes between two Amoraim. Hoyu Beth Din, shechelev mutar. Beth Din came and said the chelev is mutar, the chelev is allowed. When it's chalef l'chelev v'shuman, and then Mr. Smarty Pants went home, and besides relying on the psak of the Rov, he also switched chelev and shuman, his own little mistake or big mistake. And he ate it, and it was tasty and yummy. Then he realized it's wrong. What did he realize? He realized, it was chelev, it wasn't shuman. So far, it's not oivei. The Rav said it's okay. But then the Badats came with a new pachkavil the day after, and they said, no, look, that chelev we thought is okay is really not okay. So the twofold mistake was revealed. Yeah. Now, who has to bring a korban? Well, Rav Omar Potter. Rav says it's Potter. At the end of the day, he relied on Beth Din, right? If not, it's true he also had his own mistake, but at the end of the day, it's their fault. He needs Potter. Rabbi Yochanan says no, he's chayev because he's not exclusively only relying on his own mistake. He also has his own mistake. He's not only relying on Beth Din, he also has his own mistake. And his own mistake of switching chelev and shuman, for that he has to pay his own korban. This is Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yochanan. Question time. Okay, go in one more line. Mesivi. Yeah, we'll finish the shiur very soon. We just have to see the question on one of the opinions we had now. Mesivi. Yeah, it's a question on Rabbi Yochanan. Mesivi. Me'am ha'aretz ba'soiso. It says in the Torah, when it talks about the chiyuv to bring a korban, let's say chas v'shalom turn on the light on Shabbos by mistake. What do I have to do? Chatos. Chatos, shoigeg, chatos, ayit chelev, ayidam. Somebody even chas v'shalom eshes by mistake. He thought it was his own wife, not funny, like twins or something. Yeah. So then he has to bring a korban chatos. Okay. It says me'am ha'aretz ba'soiso. Am ha'aretz doesn't mean an uneducated rough man. Am ha'aretz means the regular people. Me'am ha'aretz. What's me'am ha'aretz? There's something to exclude here. There's somebody who's not in the parsha of the korban. Prat lemumar. Let's say mumar, a person already wears a cross on his chest. He converted to Christianity or to Zen, I don't know what, Buddhism or something. He doesn't believe Judaism anymore, but he wants to bring a korban. So we say, Mister, we're so sorry. You can't bring your korban because you're not Am Haaretz, even you're Me Am Haaretz, you're out of the line. Me comes to exclude that person who's already completely off. Of course, if he does tshuva, we accept it. If he wants to do tshuva, everyone is accepted, always. But this guy still wears his cross. He's going back to the ashram, to wherever he's, but he just wants to bring a korban for the chayil of yet yesterday. For that, he wants to bring a korban, okay? Because that's what his daddy taught him. He has nice memories, etc. So now we have a special pasuk to tell me, a miut in the pasuk to tell me he's not in the story, okay? Rabbi Shimon ben Yoich, he's Yois Yamim Shum Rabbi Shimon, and he says, Eino tzarich, you don't have to have a whole pasuk to tell me, a special pasuk to tell me the mumar is like filed as a person who's treif and he cannot bring a korban. I have a very simple way to exclude the mumar anyways. It says, Ashalot osen b'shgoga ve'oshem, or hoida. It says, hoida elav chatasoi. A person who realized his mistake and does tshuva, only he can bring a korban. Hashav midi osoi maybe korban oshigegosoi. A person who's shav, a person who says, I ate chelev, oy vey, I ate chelev, oh my gosh. I ate chelev and he feels bad and he's doing tshuva, he brings a korban. Loi shav midi osoi, any mivoy korban oshigegosoi. A person who does not regret the mistake, somebody tells him, it was chelev, and he's like, I'm off the derech already 10 years. Who cares it's chelev? I don't believe in this whole business. And he goes like, okay, I'm so sorry. That person does not bring a korban, not because he's a mumar. Excuse me, I gave the wrong example. I made a mistake. He's not off the derech. He's not off the derech. He's a person who's not a mumar. He's not a mumar, but this person does not regret the avera. He doesn't, with that particular avera, he's happy with. He's not yet sorry about it. Maybe he will on Yom Kippur. He's on the derech, but I was chaylev. Okay, we'll see. I'm working on it. I'm still in but I'm not regretting it now. So why do you have to tell me that a mumar is filed as a treifa person, not to bring a korban? Anyway, a mumar definitely is not regretting the avera, right? So it says mufurish in the pasuk, that he's shav b'tshuva, right? The mumar, any is not doing tshuva. Even if he wouldn't be a mumar, this particular vera is not doing tshuva on. In any event, one thing we see for sure, a person only brings a korban if he regrets the vera upon hearing the facts. Somebody tells him, this is chaylev. Oh no, chaylev. How could I have done such a thing? I have to bring a korban. Oh, then, says the Gemara, if so, excuse me, how can Rabbi Yochanan say that our friend, who's a very Haredi person, that friend of ours, what's his story? What's his double mistake? He thinks it's Shuman and really it's chaylev. But when you tell him, it's chaylev, he'll say, so what? I'm a Yerushalayim person, but the big Rav in Yerushalayim, the head of the Badatz, told me it's okay to eat it. So he's also not regretting. So how can you tell me that this person is Chayv Korban upon hearing this is Chaylev, not because of lack of Yerushalayim, because the Badatz made him misled him, he does not regret what he did, so why is he Chayv Korban? How can you, Rabbi Yochanan, say it's Chayv Korban? That's a question. The Im Isa, let's look at the words of the Gemara, they're much better than me, trust me. The Im Isa, if this is true what you say, Rabbi Yochanan, we are 4 lines from bottom of the page in the middle of the line. Ve'im Isa haloi shavid yasu. He's just technically not regretting what he did, not because he's a bad guy, because he doesn't regret, because the Rav Trupachovsky told him it's fine. And says the Gemara, Amar of Papa, no. Kasava Rabbi Yochanan, very easy answer in a way. Rabbi Yochanan believes when Beis Din will eventually find out their mistake, they'll regret it big time. Yeah, maybe they'll fire themselves, they'll quit. Eventually, he'll also make the tshuva. When he will go in a week's time to Mea Shorim and see all the Pashkivilim saying that this kind of chelev was found out to be treif, of course he'll regret, right? Mimela is considered as somebody who's shav midiosoi, because although right now he's not aware, but once the twofold mistake will unravel, both his own mistake will be unraveled, meaning he'll realize it's really chelev. Eventually, Badatz will find out that this chelev is treif, is osur. Mimela, because of that, it's called shav midiosoi. Even though it's not one level shav midiosoi, it's still chiddush. It's a double level shav midiosoi, but at the end of the day, he's the kind of person who would regret, and eventually, hopefully, we'll find out the mistake. That's the whole story here. If they never found out the mistake, the Badatz would have the masechta. The whole storyline here is that the mistake was found out. Mimela, we say that he's chayav chatos. There's one more line that I have rachmanus in you because it's late, so we'll do that line tomorrow with the next Amud. Thank you very much. I hope all of you at home and here enjoyed us, and you'll stay for the rest of the masechta. I'm listening to every word you say now with your question. Thank you very much. The shiur is over. Time for questions. Thank you. Bye.